Well, let's go ahead and watch the video on Renewal, and the people viewing online, you haven't really missed much. I was collecting grades. Okay. All right, Jake, Renewal.
How to renew your Florida CNA certification, a guide for Florida CNAs. Brought to you by
Oh, that's okay.
4YourCNA.com. After you pass your state exam, you will receive your certification card in the mail. This card gives you valuable information. Take a moment to look it over. Check your name and address to make sure they are correct. Make a note of your CNA certification number. You will need this for employment and in-service credit. Your certification also comes with a convenient wallet card. Sign this and keep it in your wallet for handy proof of certification. But one of the most important things you need to pay attention to is the expiration date. It will be located near the top of the blue card in the grid. In Florida, CNAs are divided into two groups, odd year group and even year group. Everyone in the even year group will renew their certifications in even years, such as 2018, 2020, 2022, and so on. Everyone in the odd year group will renew their certifications in odd years, such as 2017, 2019, etc. When you become certified, you will join one of these groups. But which group you end up in has nothing to do with when you test. You will be assigned a group when you receive your first certification, and you will remain in that group even if you allow your certification to lapse and you retest later in life. So how do you know when you will have to renew? It's easy. Check your expiration date. Every certification will expire on May 31st, either in an odd year or an even year. You need to know which group you are in. This is Jenny. Jenny became a CNA in 2017. She was placed into the even year group, so her expiration date will be in even years. She is joining a group already in progress, so her expiration date will be the same as theirs, regardless of when she became certified. Everyone in this group has the same expiration date. So, do I have to take the test again? No. As long as you meet all the requirements and renew on time, you will never have to take the state boards again. In order to renew your CNA certification in Florida, you must meet two requirements and pay a small fee. You must work at least once as a CNA for pay in this renewal cycle. You must complete the required number of in-service hours and pay the renewal fee. We will look at each of these in more detail in the following section. In Florida, every CNA is required to perform nursing-related services for monetary compensation within the renewal period in order to renew their certification. That means they have to get paid to do CNA skills. This rule is in effect to ensure that CNAs are using their skills so that they do not forget what they have learned. But there are no specific amount of hours that are required. But be careful. If you are not currently working in healthcare as a CNA, you may not be able to renew. But there is a way. Follow me to see Jim's story. This is Jim. Jim became certified as a CNA in 2016. Jim planned on going to work in the local hospital after he became certified. But Jim's uncle needed help at his bank and hired Jim. Jim likes his new job at the bank and he's doing very well there. He doesn't want to leave the bank, but he wants to keep his CNA certification active. He worked hard to get it. One of Jim's bank customers, A supervisor at the local home health agency mentioned that they were looking for weekend CNAs to care for some of their new clients. Jim immediately filled out an application. He was hired and now works only one Saturday a month. Jim kept his regular job at the bank, but still met the requirements for renewal. Jim will keep one of his pay stubs for proof of the work requirement. Now let's look at the second requirement, in-services. In Florida, continuing education courses for CNAs are called in-services. You must complete a certain amount of continuing education every renewal period in order to renew your certification. You must complete continuing education in-services in certain topics every renewal period. These will include bloodborne pathogens and infection control, domestic violence, medical record documentation, resident rights, communication with cognitively impaired individuals, CPR skills, and medical error prevention and safety. So remember your expiration date on your certification. You need to compute how many months you will have that certification to determine how many hours you need. You will need 1 hour of in-service for every month that you are certified. First, locate the date that your certification was issued. Then locate your expiration date. Count the number of months that you will have your certification in this certification period. So if this certification issue date was January 1st, 2017, and the expiration date is May 31st, 2018, there are 17 months of certification. This certification will be valid for 17 months before renewal. So this certification will require 17 hours of in-services for renewal. Once you have done your required topics, the remainder of the hours can be in a topic you choose. Choose topics that relate to your work environment or an environment that you want to work in. The topics you choose are entirely up to you, and the choices are endless. In-services can even help you if you want to change jobs. How? I'm glad you asked. Let's say that you currently work in a dementia unit. But then your friend tells you about a job opening at a local hospital. You've never worked in a mother-baby unit, but you really want this job. You can complete in-service topics related to this new opportunity to show motivation. This shows that although you lack experience, you are willing to learn. Supervisors like that. Now that you know how many in-service hours you need for renewal and what the required topics are, you need to find out how to get them. Most workplaces require an orientation session for new employees. Some employers will give you in-service credit for completing these modules during orientation. In-services can be awarded for watching videos, classroom instruction, formal group discussions, or even self-study at home. This is a great interview question. Do you offer in-service training hours? In-services can also be awarded for topics discussed in monthly workplace meetings. Sometimes hospitals and other community agencies will host continuing education opportunities. These are often advertised online or in community newspapers or bulletins. But for many CNAs, the easiest way to get your required in-services is online. There are many online in-service providers. Each is structured a bit differently, but most have some sort of free trial. Simply search for CNA In-Services Florida in your favorite search engine. If you are unsure if the provider you want to use is recognized by the Board of Nursing as an approved provider, you can check them out on CE Broker. Go to cebroker.com. Under Course Search, select your state and your profession, and then click the Begin Search bar. Now click the Providers tab to access a list of approved providers. You can also search for courses right on this website. So far, we've learned how to work at least once as a CNA for pay this renewal cycle, and we've learned how to complete the required number of in-service hours. So all that's left is to renew and pay the fee. The bottom of your certification card contains the information you will need to renew. Your specific renewal instructions are printed here. Once you access the website listed on your certification card, flhealthsource.gov, click on Renew a License. After logging in, follow the prompts, check off the requirements, and pay the fee. Renewal can take less than 15 minutes to complete as long as all of your requirements are met. You will sign in with your username and password on your certification card. You do not have to send anything to the Board of Nursing to prove that you've met the requirements. You only need to send proof, which would consist of a pay stub and in-service certificates, if the Board of Nursing requests them from you. You must keep your proof for at least 4 years after renewing. Never, ever lie on your renewal. The Board of Nursing does periodic audits. The penalties for lying on your renewal are severe. Make sure you've met all the requirements before completing your renewal. You now have all the knowledge you need to renew your CNA certification in Florida. Remember to look at your new certification card for your next expiration date. Until then, happy caregiving.
All right. So the thing that has changed is we are no longer getting certification cards in the mail. So that blue card, they're not mailing it out to us anymore. All certifications are now housed online. There's a portal that employers have to check. It's also a public portal, so the public can check as well. And this is important because a lot of people are now doing like private caregiving. And if you're going to go to work for a family, they've got to be able to check to make sure that you don't have any charges against you for abuse or neglect or something like that. So this online portal is a whole lot more secure than a blue card. It's just like how we had that nurse that I was telling you about that wasn't a nurse but was working as a nurse. Well, anytime you have something paper, it can be counterfeited. So the online portal is much more secure. So they're not doing the blue cards anymore. You won't get that. And that's why I have to update this. But the rest of it is correct. You will have to renew. So when you get certified, you have to go to the online portal and check to see when your expiration date is. Now, they're going to notify you when you get onto the registry. They'll send you that information, but you're going to want to keep track of that. And they'll also send you an email a couple of months before renewal time to remind you, hey, don't forget, you've got to renew, along with the login information to the website you'll have to go to renew. So that whole process is essentially the same, just without the blue card. You will have to have continuing education in order to renew. There's some topics that are required. There's some topics that you get to choose, but you have to have the right amount of hours to be able to renew. Okay. And then every 5 years, you have to redo your background check. Any questions on renewal? Any questions? All right. So I have this video that you just watched on our main website. It's on 4YourCNA.com under After Certification, and you'll see CNA renewal instructions. This will be updated in the next couple of weeks. All right. Well, I'm just going to skip this because we don't have the blue card anymore. Page 172 has contact information for every state's Board of Nursing. This is important if you decide to move out of state. And we're a very mobile society. People move around all the time. So if you decide that you want to move to New York, you need to know what the process is. How do I become a CNA in New York? And for the most part, most states, you just contact them, say, hey, I'm a CNA in Florida. I want to be a CNA in your state. How do I do this? Most of them will say, just pay a fee, do our background check, because every state has their own background check. Use our background check, and we'll give you a certification here too. Nice. Not every state does that, though. There are some that require that you take their test. And there are a few that require you do their education before you can take their test. You'd want to know before you move. So contact them, a little bit before you move so that you can get that information together. Make sense? Any questions on that? Now, New York used to be one of those states that if you got one somewhere else, we'll take it. We'll give you one here too. I just was contacted last week by a former student who was trying to transfer to, or, get a certification in New York. And that may have changed, because they're requiring that she produce education verification. Now, in Florida, we're allowed to challenge. You don't have to take a state-approved program to be able to take the test. Anybody can take the test. This is a test prep. We don't go do clinicals anywhere. I'm getting you ready for the test. So this isn't education that will satisfy those requirements. That's something you'd want to know before you move. Okay. Make sense? Those state education programs, they're 120 hours and they're very expensive. They're usually only given by like community colleges and some vocational schools, but they're very expensive. So in Florida, hardly anybody ever goes to them. Almost everybody does test prep. Okay, any questions on renewal? Pretty easy. If you do not renew on time, they're going to charge you extra. And if you don't renew within that 2-year period after you've expired, you got to start all over. Don't do that. Make sure you renew. Always protect your ability to make more money. That's important. All right, so now that we have completed this program, the next step is getting certified. The step after that is finding a job. So I want to talk just a little bit about this. We all kind of have an idea of how to find a job, but healthcare is a little different actually than other industries. So I want to go through this just a little bit and give you some information on how to be the most productive at finding a job in healthcare. So I have a whole lesson on this on page 174. And the first thing you need to know is, where do I want to work? And this is where that workplace personality quiz is going to help you out. So if you haven't taken that, I would definitely work that into your next couple of days to figure out where you belong in healthcare. And then once you've got that idea, then you can start your job search, because otherwise there's a lot of places that we can work in healthcare. If you're applying to all of those, that's going to take forever. So you really want to do this a little more targeted. But more importantly, you want to pick a place that you're actually going to thrive. There is nothing worse. When you go to work, you're pledging them 8 to 12 hours of your waking time. You're away from your family. You're away from things you want to do. There's nothing worse than having 8 to 12 hours in a place that you absolutely hate. It'll make the time go super slow, but you're probably going to take it out on the patients, and that's not fair to them. So do a little research on yourself to make sure that you're picking the right place for you. And the workplace personality quiz will help you with that. But once we know where we want to work, we're going to do something a little bit more targeted than just the online jobs boards. This is the first stop for everybody, right? We sit on our couch, we pull up our phone, and we go to one of these online jobs boards and we start looking for CNA openings. Who's hiring, right? This is our first stop. Now, one of the ones that's on here I want to bring to your attention because it's probably one you're not familiar with, and that's this one, USA Jobs. USA Jobs are government jobs. Now, government has great benefits. This is where you're going to find all your VA jobs. And the VA has a lot of benefits beyond the ones that we kind of think about. VA often helps you with tuition reimbursement. So if you want to move on, this is a great opportunity. They also do interagency transfers. So let's say that you want to move to Hawaii. Well, they have VAs in Hawaii. So you can actually stay with the VA, transfer, and sometimes they'll even help you with some of your moving expenses because it's an inter-office transfer. So you've got a lot of benefits beyond the, health, dental, retirement, that kind of thing in government jobs. So these aren't going to be advertised anywhere else. You have to go here to find them. Okay. Make sense? So that's one that most people don't think about, but there are a lot of opportunities on there. You can go directly to the VA and search as well. But what I found interesting, a couple of months ago, I actually went on that website, usajobs.gov, and there were openings for Homeland Security for CNAs. Yeah. They pay well. Why would there be openings for Homeland Security? Well, these detention centers, right, that they've opened up? You guys know that? The detention centers. So when people are here illegally, before we can deport them, they have to go through this whole process. So we have to put them somewhere. So we put them in a detention center while we're waiting to send them back to wherever they came from. And these detention centers, everybody that's in them are not young and healthy. Think about it, right? We can't, these aren't legal residents, so we can't let them out to go to a hospital. We have to treat them where they're at. So there were openings for CNAs in detention centers through Homeland Security. So there are opportunities that you might not think about right away. Another one that's on there that's a very interesting opportunity is in the federal prison system. Federal prison system, you're not alone with prisoners. There's always guards. But again, we don't send these people out when they get sick. We treat them where they're at. And a lot of people in prison have very chronic, very debilitating healthcare conditions like HIV or end-stage kidney failure or cirrhosis or hepatitis, and they have to be treated where they're at. So there's a lot of good opportunities within that system as well for healthcare providers. So it goes beyond just our mainstream, what we think about. And again, you're going to have great benefits with those types of jobs. Many, many years ago, probably 25 years ago, I actually interviewed for a position in a penal institution. And I was very nervous about it. And ended up not taking the job. I was offered the opportunity, but I declined it because I was just very nervous about it. I really wasn't sure I wanted to be in that environment. It seemed very risky to me. I just didn't get a great feeling about it. Well, I owned the scrub shop in town for almost 20 years. And in that time, we had people from all different areas of healthcare shop there. And what was interesting is that our local jail, all of their nurses used to shop with us. And once I found out where they worked, I asked them, I said, weren't you scared to go to work at the jail? And they're like, no, it's actually the best opportunity for nursing. The reason is when you're and I never thought about this. I never thought this through. When you're at the hospital, you have no idea who you're treating. No idea. They might be there for high blood pressure, but the fact that they're schizophrenic isn't being treated. So when you walk into that room, you are walking in alone and you have no idea what you're walking into. Where in the prison system, you're never alone with a patient. There's always a guard or two, and you know everything about that patient. And it was actually for them much safer, and they had very little turnover. Very, very few openings came up in their workforce because it was such a secure job compared to what you get at the local hospital. I had not thought about it that way. So if I'd taken that job, my career may have had a totally different trajectory. You never know what opportunities are going to present themselves to you. And even opportunities that you might feel a little kind of strange about, take the time to research them before you dismiss them, because there may be some aspects to that position that you're just not aware of. Talk to people. Make sense? All right, but let's go back to these online job boards, because this is always our first step. We go to Career Builder, Snag a Job, or Indeed, or any of those job opportunities, and we start looking. Now, the problem is that every single one of those costs money. If I want to advertise a CNA position and I want to advertise it on 5 different job boards, I have to pay all 5 job boards to put that position on there. It's not free. It's free for you to search. It is not free. So it's on average about $100 to $300 a week just to advertise on 5 job boards. That's a lot of money. Now, in healthcare, we always have openings for CNAs. Always. We are never fully staffed. Never. So can you imagine paying $300 a week forever? For nothing? Nobody would do that. That's not a good use of money. So when you go onto these jobs boards, it will be an incomplete listing of all the opportunities in your area, and you need to understand that. These opportunities are just the ones that can afford to advertise. It's not all of the options. And I bring that up because recently a graduate contacted me and said, you know, I'm only seeing like 4 things on Indeed for CNAs. I thought that this was an in-demand industry, and it is an in-demand industry, but you're looking in the wrong place. Okay. So let's figure out where we should look. Now, this is a good first step. No problem there. But let's figure out where we should be looking. Instead of going to the job boards online, you should go directly to the facilities that you want to work at. So let's say I took the personality quiz. It told me that I belong in a hospital. I'm going to look up the hospitals that are in my area. So I'm going to go to a search engine. I'm going to type in the name of the hospital, Hospital XYZ. And when the search results come out, I'm going to click on that hospital. Now, usually at the top of the page in their menu bar is going to be jobs or careers. Click on that, and it will take you to a search page for that hospital system. This doesn't cost them money. Every position they have will be here. They own this. There's a difference between their website and Indeed. You guys understand the difference there? So if you go directly to the facility's website, that's your best source of information about the positions available. I'll give you a little hint. The further you get from a big city, the lower the pay scale gets. So if you want high pay, you're probably going to have to get into Tampa. If you want convenience of working in your neighborhood, then look local. But you're probably not going to get convenience and high pay. That's like the unicorn. It's very hard to find. Okay, so you got to figure out what is most important to you. Questions on that? Beware of facilities that are offering more money than normal, than what you're seeing elsewhere. Probably about 15 years ago, there was a facility up in Gainesville that at the time was offering $25 an hour. This is back when CNAs were making like 12, 13 an hour. So they were paying double what the industry average was. Now, my students got all excited about that. Right? Gainesville isn't too far. We can carpool. Let's check this out. And I wished them luck. They went, they interviewed, they got the job, didn't just get the job. They were asked, can you start immediately, right now? Now, that's a huge red flag, guys. Huge red flag. So there was no orientation offered. Basically, can you start? They didn't know where to find the washcloths. They didn't know who their nurse was. They didn't know the routines. They didn't know the patients. They didn't know anything. They were literally thrown in as a body to cover the shift. And it was, they each had like 15 patients. As a brand new CNA with no orientation, patients were falling. They couldn't get a hold of the nurse. Patients were not cooperative because they didn't know the staff, these new people. It was a very stressful situation, and all of them quit within a week. There's a reason that facilities offer super high money. It's not because they want to take care of you. Positions that are being offered lots of money, it's because they can't get anyone to fill that position. So you got to ask yourself, why doesn't anybody want this position? Does that make sense? Beware of that, especially as a brand new CNA. Now, an experienced CNA, maybe it may have been able to slide in there and capitalize on that and be okay. But as a brand new baby CNA, that's a recipe for disaster. Be careful there. Does that make sense? Did you have a question?
Yeah, well, like I'm so old. Usually, if you want to work in a big city, you actually have to factor in rent and transportation and tolls and gas and time.
Right.
So, kind of like for me, it has helped me to put those things in the balance. And sometimes we are paying to work.
Correct. Years ago, I went to work in a hospital in Orlando, and I had no idea, didn't even think about it. I had no idea that you actually had to pay to park. Their parking garage charged employees to park. Yeah. Now, they eventually changed that policy because the employees got, a little hot under the collar. But yeah, they were charging employees to park. So what's that? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, you end up paying weekly anyway. You want to work a week?
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's crazy, right? But these are things that we probably need to know before we take on a position. Remember that healthcare, for the most part, is a for-profit industry. Their obligation is not to you. Their obligation isn't even to the patient. It's to their shareholders to return the most profit for the money they're given by the investors. So they do not have you in their best interests. And when you understand that, you can kind of understand the motivation behind what they do. Okay, good. Of course, I don't believe that healthcare should be for profit, but that's a whole nother conversation. All right, so best place to go find a job once you know the type of job you're looking for is to go direct to the facilities websites in your area that you're interested in working in. And, we all have a facility that we're like, yeah, I won't work there. So don't go there. Don't look at their website. If it's not a place that you would be willing to go as a patient, then don't go there to work either. Focus your job searches on places that are going to make you the happiest CNA you can be. Makes your job a whole lot easier. One of the things with this is when you go to that website, let's say that I decide I want to work at hospital ABC right up the road. I go to hospital ABC, I look on their website and I see 3 CNA positions. I want to apply to all of them. If you apply to one, it is only going to that one open position. They don't share applications. It used to be years ago, you'd walk into a hospital, fill an application out in their lobby, and then whatever nurse managers needed a CNA would look it over, and one of them would call you in for an interview, whoever was the most impressed with your application. It doesn't work that way anymore. You cannot go into a facility and apply. They will tell you to go onto their website and fill out the application. Now, the problem is that application does not go to the hospital. You went to their website, you filled out an application, but it did not go to the hospital. It went to a human resources department, probably in St. Pete. There's a huge human resources company down there that handles the applications for almost all of our hospital systems. So when you apply online and it goes to that human resources corporation, there are filters set up. And those filters look at your application. And if your application does not match specific keywords that they have entered, it gets discarded. You don't get notified. So you apply, you think you're waiting for a response, and your application never even made it past step 1. But they didn't tell you. It'd be nice if they did. If they sent you an email that says, I'm sorry, you're not qualified for this position. And then you could reapply. But you won't hear anything. It's crickets. You'll wait a week and a half, no response. Well, that means that your application did not go anywhere. So when you are doing online applications, number 1, make sure that the application matches the job description. And we actually talked a little bit about this a couple of days ago with CPR and BLS. CPR for healthcare providers is called BLS. It's the same thing. But if you put on your application CPR certified, when the job description says BLS required, that filter is going to discard your application. So you need to make sure that the terminology that's used on that job description is the exact same terminology that you put on your application. Make sense? Okay. Very important. You want to apply to every position listed, unless you have a specific department you want to work in. If you're just wanting to get in as a CNA at the hospital, apply to all of them. It increases your chances. And apply often. So if you apply and you don't hear anything in a week, apply again. If you don't hear anything in a week, apply again. Persistence pays off when it comes to online applications. And I don't know what it is. It's very strange, but it seems to me, and I've heard this from hundreds of students, that it seems like the system, because it sees your name so often, it finally lets you through. Or maybe on the last attempt, you just got it right. I'm not sure. But the more applications you put in, the more success you seem to have in getting that interview.
I swear, the same thing with regular jobs on Indeed. I swear they keep some of the unopened listings up so that they have something to do so that they'll leave it.
Right. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. They do not keep, It's either the company isn't managing their opened listings very well, or Indeed doesn't take a listing down so that they can get more money from the company. Yeah, and I'm hearing that a lot, is that on these online jobs boards, that most of the positions either aren't available or they're scam listings. So you got to be careful about. Oh, speaking of scams, this one came to my attention a couple months ago. There is somebody out there that is trying to get CNAs to sign up for a national certification. And they'll tell you, we're, guaranteed to get you your national certification. You can work in any state. There isn't one. There isn't one. And they'll get you to pay them a couple $100 and they take off with your money. There is no national certification. Now, even nurses don't have a national certification. We are all licensed by our states. So I'm licensed in Florida. I am a Florida RN. I can't work in New York. I can't work in North Carolina. I can't work in Arizona unless I get RN license there. Now, it's pretty easy to do because I've got a Florida one. They verify my education and my credentials, and they give me one in those states. It's not a hard proposition because the education standards, are standardized across all states. So it's easy to do. A couple of years ago, they came out with something called the Nurse Compact. Now, the Nurse Compact is an agreement between states. So if I'm a Florida CNA and I have my Nurse Compact, which I did this year, then I can work in Ohio or New York or North Carolina being a Florida CNA by reason of agreement. Now, it costs me a little more money to get that compact, and there are some caveats to it, but it does allow me to work in other states. But it is not a national license. It's important to understand it doesn't work in all 50 states. There's only, I think, 37 that it works in. So if nurses don't have that and our education is standardized, CNAs definitely don't have that. Your education is not standardized. That's one of the things I'm working on, is standardizing the educational standards across the states. So it's important that you kind of understand the legal framework there so that you don't get taken advantage of by a scam. But yeah, watch his jobs boards. There's scams out there for that too. All right. So I've done the work for you here locally. If you're in my class, it doesn't apply to you guys watching virtually unless you're in Hernando County. But for those of you in Hernando County, if you go to my main website, 4YourCNA.com, look in the top menu under After Certification. That's where you're at. You're going to see local employers. It's the first thing I have in that list. And when you click on local employers, it's going to take you to this website. These are all of our local employers, and I've grouped them by category. So you'll see the hospitals, you'll see the nursing homes and rehabs, you'll see the assisted living facilities, there's home care on there. And if you click on any one of those, it's going to take you directly to their website, usually the hiring page on their website. So this is kind of a one-stop shop, and I don't charge for this. I don't charge employers. I don't charge you. This is a community service effort on my part to match students with jobs. So this is a really good kind of first stop for you guys. Okay. And it also has at the top, it has a link for that personality quiz. Again, know where you need to be before you start shopping for a job. But this can be a very long process, right? There's a lot of positions. There's a lot of facilities. You can kind of shortcut this. And this is something a lot of people don't think about. Instead of going to Indeed.com, just use the search engine. Just go straight to Google, because Google searches every single website out there. Remember, we're trying to find the positions on a website. Google has already done the work for us. So if you go to Google, they search the website, you put in CNA job opening in your town, it's going to pull up all of the websites that have that position listed. So this is kind of a shortcut that most people don't think about. They'll open up Google and type in Indeed. Cut that out. Just go straight to Google and it will speed up your workflow. But most people don't really think about this. And it really is. Google is a great search engine for job opportunities. Here's something else that most people don't really think about. We live in the age of social media. Facilities have social media. Almost every facility is on all of the social media platforms. They pay somebody to post on their behalf. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're on Snapchat, they're on Twitter, they're on all the social media, whatever they are. I don't keep up with social media. All of the social media platforms. So if you have one that you use routinely, go to their profile, because when they have a job opportunity, oftentimes they'll put it up there. We are looking for night shift CNAs. Oh, I'm a CNA. I have a night. I might be able to fill that need. And it's a great way to connect outside of that very impersonal online application. Because social media will let you put in, hey, hi. You know, social media, you can say, hey, I just applied. And now they can look out. Hi. They can look out for your application. And it might be a way of kind of getting past those filters. Okay. So it's something that you may not have thought about, but looking at their social media is always a good idea. Hey, Julie. Hey. All right. Here's the last one I want to talk to you about. And this is probably the one that's most underutilized. You guys all know someone that works in healthcare. Everybody knows someone that works in healthcare. It's the predominant industry in Hernando County. It's where most people work. So if you know someone that works in healthcare, then you probably should hit them up and say, hey, do you have any openings where you're working? Do you like where you're working? Would you recommend that I work where you're working? It's a good way to get insider information, but the real benefit here is that when you have somebody recommend you for the job, you pass by all of those filters, but they can get a bonus for recruiting and you can get a bonus for being recruited. So instead of them giving that money to those online jobs boards that we talked about, they're willing to split it with you. There's two reasons for this. When you work in a group, you don't always get along with the people you're working with. If you've ever worked as part of a team, you know there's people you click with and there's people you absolutely cannot stand to work with. That's every work setting. Now, the manager's job is to try to make sure everybody can get along well enough to get the job done. That's the manager's job. But how much easier would it be for that manager if everybody already got along? If everybody liked each other? What a dream job that would be, right? You don't have all those personality conflicts. Well, if you are recommending somebody for the job, then I know you like that person. You're willing to get along with them, and the team might run pretty smoothly. And that's a win-win for everybody. So a lot of facilities will offer a bonus for recruiting family members, friends, that type of thing. And they'll also give you a bonus if you stay a certain amount of time. So not only can you get a job, but you can get a bonus to get that job. That's a win-win. All you got to do is talk to your network. Good? Questions? So don't rely on jobs boards. Look at government jobs. Don't discount government jobs because they've got pretty good benefits and some unexpected opportunities. Go directly to the websites of the place that you want to work. We have links to those websites on our website itself. And check social media. Network to find opportunities that might indicate bonuses along the way. So did you come up with some different strategies for finding a job that maybe you hadn't thought about? This whole lecture came about, I've been doing this for about 10 years now. I never covered this before that. I had a CNA that took the class, she took the test, she got certified, and a couple months later, I don't know how long it was, but it was months later, she says, I can't find a job. And I said, well, have you looked online? She says, yeah, I went onto the job boards. I apply and nothing happens. I can't find a job. You need to find me a job. Okay. I don't find jobs. I'm not a job placement service. It's not what I do, but I can help you find an opportunity. So I went through all of this with her. And at the end of that conversation, she was angry. She was angry. She said, you know, this would have been really good information for you to give me while I was still in class. And I thought, you're right. You are right. This is information that students need to know. I just assumed that it was information that students already knew, but that's not the case. So that's why I take the time to go through this. Now, some of this or most of this is probably stuff you already know, but for those of you that don't, this can be life-changing information. Good? All right. So there's a couple other things you can look at here. Job fairs. We actually have a local hospital. I'm not saying any names, but we have a local hospital that does a job fair once or twice a month, and it's usually at Marker 48 Brewing. Great place to network. So keep your eyes open for social media, postings on that. But once or twice a month, they have an open interview at a social event in the evening. So go grab some wings, grab a drink, meet with people. And it's good to be able to put faces with names, and you're not this faceless application that came through on the internet. So hiring events are always a good idea. Community events where they have, like a hurricane preparedness expo and back to school bash and things like that are great ways to connect with local healthcare employers as well, because most of them have a booth there. All right. We've talked about this earlier, but I'm just going to go over it again real quick. Make sure your application matches the job description. Remember, CPR is, or BLS is CPR for healthcare providers. So there's two different types of CPR. There's CPR for bystanders. Basically, if somebody is in an accident or somebody starts to choke or somebody has a heart attack in Walmart, we're hoping that some bystander has the knowledge to be able to intervene before 911 gets there, right? You want to be the one before 911, which is what Julie's going to teach you. That is community CPR. And then there is CPR that you're getting paid to do. Right? When you're working, you're getting an hourly wage, aren't you? Whatever you do during that time, you are getting paid to do. So if you are working in healthcare and you are doing CPR as part of your job, you are getting paid to do CPR. Well, if you're going to get paid to do it, we have to have a little bit higher level of knowledge, a higher level of skill. We're also going to have some additional toys that we can bring in, additional items that we can use to make our job easier. And you have to learn how to use those as well. So because there's community CPR and then there's professional CPR, we came up with a different name for the professional CPR. We called it BLS. Good. All right. So I did pass out a couple of classes ago, the QR code for Julie's CPR class. Did everybody get a picture of that? All right. Make sure you use that QR code to register, because she gives you a discount if you register on that link. And you can bring somebody else too, if you need to, if you want to. Yeah, Jake, can you pass out the QR code? All right. So let's talk about interview tips. Hi. So let's talk about interview tips. You went through the class, you took your test, you found an opportunity online, you applied for it, and now you've got your interview. What now? Well, we all know to put your best foot forward. You want to make sure you're dressed appropriately, and you can wear business professional. That's always appropriate for an interview, no problem. But there's an old saying, dress for the job you intend to get. If we're going to be working as CNAs, what do CNAs wear? Scrubs. So it is appropriate to wear scrubs to an interview, as long as they're neat, clean, pressed, right? Don't just take them out of the dryer, shake them out, and throw them on. We want them to look good. They should be solid in color, no prints, and they should be dark in color. So blue, green, red, darker colors. If you know the color that CNAs wear at that facility, wear it if you have it. If you know that hospital ABC has all of their CNAs in hunter green and you've got hunter green, wear hunter green. Because that lets them know that you've done your research. You really want this job. Okay, good. It also tells that manager they're not going to have to play the uniform police. Because you know what's required and you're already in it. Make sense? All right. We're going to go early, not Tuesday early, just 10 to 15 minutes early. When you go early, you actually have a job to do. Remember, you are offering to spend 8 to 12 hours of your waking hours at this facility. You want to make sure it's a good fit for you. So you're there early in respect of their time, but you're also there to figure out if that facility is right for you. So you need to be paying attention. What does it smell like? If it smells bad, those CNAs do not take good care of those patients. Is that who you want for a coworker? You want to pay attention to how long those call lights are going off and how many people walk by the call lights without addressing them. That tells you whether the staff is concerned and engaged with the patients or whether they're there for a paycheck. You want to pay attention to how the staff treats each other. Are they polite, respectful, helpful, or are they snarky, rude, and mean? Because you're about to be the new kid. You want to pay attention to how the CNAs talk or the staff talk to the patients. Are they respectful or are they mean? Because all of that is going to give you information that you need to make the best decision for your daily time. Does that make sense? Go early, but you're going early for you. When you go into the actual interview, shake their hand. And you need to shake their hand by standing up. You do not shake hands sitting down. You stand up, hand out, thumb up, grasp the hand once up, once down, and withdraw. That's shaking hands. Don't do this. It's not a wet fish. Nobody is going to kiss your ring. You want to show a little bit of pride and confidence. Just like, grab the hand. Grab the hand. There you go. Thumb down, grab the hand. There you go. There you go. Very good. You don't want to shake hands from a seated position because that changes the power dynamic. You always need to be eye to eye on an even level when you're shaking hands. Okay, good. Makes sense? Once you've shaken hands, you're going to go in. They're going to ask you a whole bunch of questions. You're going to give them some information. And at some point here, you're going to want to give them a packet. Now, this is something you should already have made up before you go in. This packet should have your certification printout. Remember, we don't have blue cards anymore. So you're going to print out the page from your website. You want to have that. That has your CNA number on it and shows that you're in good standing. And that really should be done within 24 hours of your interview. So, because when you print this out online, it's actually going to have the date it was printed at the top. So it shows that you are actively certified. They're going to have to double check it. They're required to, but at least it gives them that little bit of assurance while they're meeting with you. You should also have your CPR card in there. You're going to get a certificate from me today that just says, hey, you came and you conquered. Good job. But you should have that in there. Any in-services, remember that continuing education that we talked about? Any in-services you should have in there. You should have this packet. Now, this packet does a couple of things. First of all, while you're there in the interview, they're not going to pay attention to the packet. It goes on the corner of the desk. They're not going to look at it. Resume too. You want your resume on there. But at the end of the interview, when you leave, you're not the only person interviewing that day. They're going to interview 5, 6, 7 other people, and you're going to get lost. There's nothing about you that's going to make you stand out. You don't have enough experience, and your interview, you're still kind of new at this, so you probably don't have a lot of really good interview techniques to make you stand out. So if you're one of 5, 6, 7, at the end of the day, they may not remember you. And if they don't remember you, they can't hire you. So how do you get remembered? You take a packet in. That packet goes on the corner of the desk. At the end of the day, after they've interviewed everybody, they're going to go through their desk before they go home. And when they find this packet, they're going to flip through it. And then I'm going to say, oh, yeah, Uni, I remember her. Oh, she's all ready to go. Everything I need is here. She interviewed well. Sounds good. And it puts you at the top of mind. It increases your opportunities to get that job. But here's the other thing that it does. It makes you easy to hire. Because if I want to hire you, and what's your name? Matt, that's what I thought. Madison. If I want to hire Madison, I've got to pick up the phone and say, hey, Madison, I'd like to offer you this position. But there's a couple things we need for your employee file before I can make it official. So if you can get for me your BLS card, I need a printout of your certification. Did you go to school anywhere? Do you have anything from them? Can you bring that in? And we have to have a resume on file for you. That's our corporate policy, along with any in-services that you've done for this renewal period. Can you bring all that in? Give it to Human Resources. They'll get it checked in. Once your file is complete, they'll let me know, and I can call you back and arrange for orientation. Or I can pick up the phone and say, hey, Uni, you want to start Monday? Because I've already got it. Which one of those am I going to do? The easy one. You made it easy to be hired because you've already given them your employee packet. These get jobs. You see how you can use that? Okay. So you want that packet. Make a good impression, stand up straight, be polite, all of the things. Eye contact. Eye contact is way more important than you think it is. Now, you young people have a problem with this because you're nervous usually during an interview. You tend to gain a little more confidence in life, and by the time you get a little older, eye contact is no problem. But young people kind of struggle with this. Let me explain to you why this is important. Half of your job is to observe and report. Half of your job is to observe and report. So that means watch and talk, the two things that you need to do in an interview. If you can't do it in an interview, how are you going to do it in a workplace? Eye contact is extra important for CNA interviews. They know you're under stress. They know it's a stressful situation in an interview. That's kind of a no-brainer. Everybody is stressed in an interview. But you know what else is stressful? Working in healthcare. If you can't function in the stress of an interview where it's all about you, how are you going to function in a stressful healthcare environment when it's not about you? Make sense? So you got to master that before you get into an interview. And doing some role playing, practicing either in the mirror or with somebody that you know can be very helpful in preparing for an interview. If you go through a couple interviews and you don't get the job, it's your interview skills. Plain and simple. It's your interview skills. You need to work on them. And the only way to get good at it is to practice. You need to be prepared. You need to be confident. And you've got to be able to explain why you are a good choice. They do not know you. You are a body in a chair. They don't know why they should hire you. That's up to you. You have to tell them that. So during the interview, you're going to get this question. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Jake, can you pass out 8, please? This is one of those questions that everybody freezes at. I don't know what to say. What do I say? You've got to have an answer for this. What they don't want to hear is, well, I was born in Virginia and Mama and Daddy got divorced and I moved in with Grandma. They don't care about that. That's not what they're looking for here. So I actually came up with a formula for this. This is my formula and it works. So what is the formula? It's this. These are the things you need to know to craft your tell me a little bit about yourself speech. So on the back side of the review sheet that we just handed out, that Jake just handed out, you're going to see a worksheet for this. So what are your past job roles? Some of you were servers. Some of you worked in customer service. Some of you maybe drove a truck. Some of, what did you do before you became a CNA? When you did that thing, whatever it was, you developed some skills. Anybody ever a server? Okay, if you've ever been a server, you have attention to detail and the ability to anticipate needs. When you walked by that table and the water was half full, what did you do? Refilled it. You didn't wait for them to ask. You brought something over and said, can I refill it? That's anticipating needs. Okay. If you've ever worked with money, you have attention to detail. Because if your drawer came up short, it came out of your check. Conflict resolution. Like if you worked with people, you learned how to manage expectations and conflict resolution. So you got to figure out what your soft skills are and find the ones that relate to you based on the jobs that you had. Then we want to know, why did you switch to healthcare? There's a why. There's a reason you're here. You didn't just wake up one morning and think, oh, that looks fun. I'll do that today. You're here because something prompted you to be here. What is it? What made you decide to work in healthcare? Make it personal. My grandfather got sick. I helped take care of him, and I realized that I really wanted to do that for a living. Or I've been stuck in dead-end jobs, and I'm looking for something with an opportunity for advancement. Or I just really have a heart to help. Make it personal. And then I want to know why I should hire you. What do you bring to the table? What are some personality traits you have that will help us here? So this is a list of what you have on the back. So your soft skills. Pick 3 that apply to you. So looking through here, for me personally, if I were to do this for me, I would say that I have exceptional professionalism, self-management. I am a self-starter, and organization skills. If you've noticed, everything that I have given you is very organized. Okay. Those are the 3 that I would pick off of here. I am not going to put punctuality. That does not apply to me. I am late to everything. My family calls it Patty Standard Time. I know that. I'm okay with it. It is a character flaw that I am working on. But I am not going to pick punctuality because it does not apply to me. I want to pick 3 that absolutely apply to me. I want to know why you want to work in healthcare. Are you here for advancement opportunities, more flexibility in scheduling, an opportunity to care for others, Do you want to do hands-on care? You want a more clinical role? Options in patient care that best fit my talents. What made you decide that this was a good idea? Yeah. It's also on the back side of that worksheet.
Oh.
The worksheet beside you. Yep, that one.
Oh.
And then what are some of your personality traits? Are you flexible, dedicated, energetic, positive, I mean, what describes you? Pick 3. It's kind of like Mad Libs. And then you end up with a list that kind of looks something like this. Your job role, 3 soft skills that you have, your reason, and 3 personality traits. And you're going to put all of that together in your tell me a little bit about yourself speech. So something like my past experience has been as a server, where I excelled in organization, prioritization, and attention to detail. But I decided to take a CNA class because I wanted a job with more opportunity for advancement. And I believe I would be a good fit for you because I'm empathetic, I'm driven to care for others, and I'm a quick learner. That is much better than, I don't know. Shows confidence in yourself. And I've done all the work for you. All you got to do is fill in the blanks. Okay. Good. After the interview, you should send a thank you note. This is overlooked. Most people don't do this. You can send an email, but I'll tell you what, guys, right now, my email's got over 6,000 emails in it. I'm not going through it to find these. You would be one more thing I had to do if it was an email. Now, if I get a thank you card in the mail, if it gets delivered to my door today, I'm opening that envelope because what is this? This is different. Remember, you can't be hired if you're not remembered. We left that packet so we were remembered. The next day, I'm going to get a thank you note. I'm definitely going to remember you. If you're working this hard to get the job, you might actually show up for the job. You're a good bet. You're a safe bet. Make sense? A lot of times people accept an opportunity. They get hired somewhere and then they never show up for the job. They ghost it. Well, if you're working this hard to get the job, you're probably not going to ghost. You're a clear bet. And the thank you note should be pretty easy. Just thank you for the opportunity to interview for this position. If you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Sincerely, your name. Super quick and easy. Make sure you address it to the person you interviewed with. Now, this should be done when your interview ends. This should be in your car, already written out. The only thing you should have to fill out is the name of the person you interviewed with. It should go into an envelope that you've already addressed. So you get out to your car, you write in Cindy, you put Cindy's name on the envelope, and you go to the post office and put it in the mail right then. If you do that, it'll show up on their desk tomorrow. Yeah, you'll get hired. How bad do you want the job? Often you'll be given a PRN opportunity. And I want to talk about PRN because this is kind of misunderstood. PRN is not on call. PRN means as needed. And what this is, guys, is an extended paid interview. When they hire you full-time, if they want to get rid of you, if you're not a good fit, if you cause a lot of staff conflicts, if you don't take care of my patients right, if you're not following policies and procedures, I've got to do a whole lot of administrative stuff to get rid of you. We have to have verbal corrective actions. We've got to have conferences. We've got to have written corrective actions. We've got to have an administrative plan. I mean, I got to do so much stuff to get rid of you so you don't sue me. It's crazy. So you're brand new. We don't know you. We don't know what kind of person you are. We don't know how you're going to treat the patients and how you're going to treat the other staff members. We don't know if you're a good fit. And I don't want to take a chance on you and have to go through all of that stuff to get rid of you if you don't work out. So what I'm going to do is offer you a PRN position. Now, you're on the schedule just like anybody else. You tell me when you can work, I put you on the schedule. It's not on call. But if I don't like you, you're not going on the schedule. I didn't fire you. We didn't have to have any corrective actions. I just don't need you right now. I'll let you know if I do. If you take a PRN position and you do well and they like you, then that full-time position will be offered to you if they have one. But you're not going to go right into a full-time position in most healthcare settings. Make sense? Now, the benefit to this is it's higher pay. There's no benefits, but you get a higher rate of pay with PRN. And you kind of get to pick your own schedule. You tell them when you're available. So if you want to take off for 2 weeks in August to take a trip, you just tell them I'm not available. You don't have to put in for approval. You just tell them when you're available and when you're not. So there are some benefits to this, but there's no benefits for this position. So if healthcare, retirement, that type of thing is important to you, this is not going to be a good fit. It's a great way to try a facility out, though. Just because you're leaving us doesn't mean we're leaving you. You still have access to the online course. Remember, all of you were enrolled in that online course. You still have your skills book. You should still be practicing. We also have a practice test on our main site, 4YourCNA.com. Under practice questions, there's a practice test. You have your practice test in the spiral book as well on page 191. So there's lots of opportunities for you. We do our game show. Anybody watch a game show yesterday? Anybody here? Okay, the game show. I actually had somebody in the game show that's starting my next class in September. So the game show replays are available for you on our YouTube channel. And those go through 15 test questions on every game show. So it's a great way. There's over 500, probably more than that, questions if you watch all of them. So we have tons and tons of learning opportunities for you. It doesn't stop today. It's just that class is over. Okay. Remember that you have a practice test on page 191 in your book. And the supply kits will help you practice moving forward. So if you haven't gotten a supply kit, it's something you might want to consider, because you'll want all of these items to be able to practice the same way you're going to be tested. Questions? Today, they're $49.99. After today, they go back up to $69.99. So the online course is available for you as well. All right. So we're going to collect the yellow books now. Jake, if you can collect the yellow books. Thank you.
I didn't want it to be too fond of it.
Or forget it at home on the way in.
Well, there's a wise saying that there's only two fools. One that lends a book and the one that returns it.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Good point. All right. So before I get to the actual graduation part, I'm going to go ahead and sign offline. You guys don't need to see this part. So those of you that joined us throughout the program, I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember that Class 4 has test registration instructions if you're in Florida and want to challenge the test. If you've attended all of these sessions, have the knowledge you need to challenge the test without taking an actual program. So good luck to you. Let us know how you do. Our next class starts on September 8th. Our next game show is September 2nd. Hope to see you for both of those. I'm taking a couple weeks off to work on some new content. So until next time, happy caregiving. Bye.